What is up, everybody? Back with another episode. NFT Pirates here. I'm here with the legend himself, Silicon Secure, and a new whale up in town, Grubba B. What is up, gents? Nice to see both of you, man.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thrilled that you're both here. I mean, Silicon's been on here a lot, and we've always talked about you in the background. And I'm like, I want to pick this guy's brain. I need to know more things. I want the community to understand more. So I'm really, really appreciative of you joining, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
It's good to have Grub on. We were OGs back in the day. We met early on the Discords. He's actually one of the first guys that early on, one of the first guys I did a trade with. That's how we met. I think I sold you something. I don't even remember what I sold you. And then we were chatting and it was like, I remember us chatting and you was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get a Rizzo kind of thing. And I'm like, we can get Rizzos. And then, it kind of started from
there. Yeah, man, that first Rizzo, huh?
Yeah. They like baptized us under fire. Those early OGs were like, yeah, okay, we'll get you through. Give us your crypto. We'll give you the Rizzo. Here you go. Here's, it was like 4 or 5K. I don't even remember what it was.
6,000.
Yeah, they got us.
Wow. Well, at least there's still a run up on the Rizzo since, right? But I remember that out of nowhere, as soon as more people got in, Rizzo went from like a few $100 to $2,000 overnight.
Yeah. Right when I joined before the marketplace shut down, Rizzo was $800 and everyone's making a big deal about it. An $800 Rizzo just sold on the marketplace. And then it was like, boom, the marketplace shut down and you had to find other places. That's where I found the Nines Discord server to be able to build community. I found the Veve server, but obviously there was no trading going on there. So it was more about trying to figure out, well, the marketplace shut down and we didn't know for how long or what was going on. I'm guessing that's why Grubba, you also went out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I got on the app, I saw the marketplace for like, I don't know, was it like a week? And then it was gone. And there was stuff in the store. I mean, people don't even understand that there was a time where the store was plentiful and people, bought a couple here, bought a couple there. Maybe they bought 55 Tots from the store. Maybe they bought 100 Tots from the store. Maybe they had 4% of the Tots at one point between a couple people.
Between us.
There was groups. Oh, was it us? Oh, yeah. That's right. But yeah, man, that was a crazy time. People came to us on Discord and Telegram, selling groups, 10 at a time, 15 at a time. It was a season one, no marketplace days were very interesting.
Yeah.
And I know, talking with Silicon, that I know you're also like a low mint specialist. And if I'm not wrong, I think you had like hundreds at some point or continue to, or.
Oh, I think at one point I had a little bit over 300 low mints, and we're talking sub 100. Wow. So, yeah, there was a big craze on that. I don't know. I want to say sometime in like July or August, David Yu was in a master collector chat that was, I think, 20 or 22 of us, and he joined in. And out of the blue was like, man, people are really into these low mints. They might be paying big money for it. And then there was just an OG frenzy from unicornos to, every Batman. Everyone was just trying to get the low mint, sub 100. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
I remember us having that talk and you were telling me, dude, you got to start going for sub 100s. And you started flexing all these, sub 100. And I'm always like kind of a value guy. So I was always going for like the special mints, and I would like flex my like, oh, I got, it wasn't even like 888s at the time. Maybe it was more like, I got the 1, 2, 3, 4, or I got, something like that. But it was, I was trying not to pay too much of a premium because I'm looking at the floor and I'm trying to get, liquidity. I kept thinking about liquidity. I'm like, at one point we're just going to have to floor some of these things. And I don't want to get too stuck, right? But you were just on the bandwagon. I remember you had like 7 Rizzos, and I don't remember like you were just like flexing every time you got one. You're like, oh, I got another Moogly, or I got, like I was just like, dude, I couldn't keep up. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was definitely a journey. I actually still have I think a 41 Robin, which is the first public mint, and a 40 Nightwing, which would be the last Veve mint. Those will be forever in my vault.
You should talk about how you got that 40 Nightwing.
Well, back. Let's see. I don't know what month this was, but there was this issue where I guess somebody had stolen a bunch of NFTs or collectibles, and that was back when Veve was still understanding since the marketplace is down, we have to help try to enforce something. So a lot of people got taken, and I had a guy who would bring me deals, and he started bringing me just bulk of everything, and I was buying it. It was a good price, and then it turned out I think it was like almost 30 of them were stolen, and Veve sent me an email along with many other people, but I think I had the most purchased off this stolen batch, I guess. And after 2 months of going back and forth, I actually got most of these from David Yu's personal collection.
Wow, how many people can say that?
I don't think many.
Wow.
Yeah, at one point I had a Rizzo 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Rizzo 15. Because I remember, I think it was the start of the public mints at 17, if I'm not wrong, right? When
17 or 18 back then.
So that was a Veve mint, a fifth. Dude, I don't even want to know the price of that. You know what I've always noticed? Whenever I see sub 17 mints selling, that's when I know it's time to sell, because those things are locked up until the perfect opportunity. Wow.
That's definitely true. I've seen some out there. Some of the OGs are definitely listing.
You're part of Veve history right there.
Thank you.
Rizzo 15, man.
Yeah.
So is there like a type of premium that would be added on to like a sub 100 mint? Like, so let's just say like a Nightwing, right? Like a lot of people always ask me, do they actually sell? Is it 2 times the floor? Is it 3 times the floor? Is it just, the price that's placed within, things that are on top and below? And then that's how people get a judge of value. Like, have you guys had experience with selling really low mints and kind of, how much more than the floor it would be?
You mind if I take this one, Silicon?
Yeah, I've only been buying. I haven't been selling much low mints, but yeah, go for it.
I mean, I would say this. The game on low mints has definitely evolved. The beginning was like almost like the wild, wild west. You didn't really know how much above the floor it was worth. And I would say now, people try to put some kind of like formula to it, but ultimately it's supply and demand. You're going to look on the marketplace, you're going to see what's available. And, everyone has gem discounts. Everyone's, assuming taxes and this and that. So you make some kind of like educated guess as to what it would be. But it is free market, right? So if you only see 2 mints that could compete with you, that's where you're stuck, unfortunately.
Right. And I know that you've also been really good at pairing low mints as well. And I mean, obviously that adds value, because that's just, making it more and more difficult to get that. So do you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I've actually been fortunate to be early. So I had, a good chance of doing it. I was able to do it with series 5 of Batman Black and White. I got all the 45s. And I have all the series 1 of the DC ladies, number 98. And I think I have matching mints on Death and Harley Quinn Deluxe as well.
And a sub 100 Todd. You got a sub 100 Todd, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Still holding on to the 95 Todd. Wow. That'll go down with all the other, sub 100 mints. I'm never selling those.
Do you remember seeing was it a 30 something or 20 something on the market for 8K? I remember we were talking about it, and I'm like, dude, there's like a 20 something Todd. It was like a 27 or so. It was something in that range. Maybe it was 30 something, but it was like 8,000 gems, and I was just like, wow. And Todd was like 500 gems.
Yeah, different time. Yeah. Can you get that back?
Yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah, so what about sub 100 Todds? Because I saw a 91 and a 90 in the market the other day, and it was like 33K and 40K. And then Lewis Morgan bought the 37 for 50K. And I'm kind of like, there's only less than 100 of them in existence, and it's the first ever Veve NFT forever. And if this is a worldwide platform, like, where could the sub 100 floor be for a Todd in the future? I mean, I know people flex and put it at 5 million. And I mean, I don't know if it's going to sell for that, but I mean, realistically, they're getting, you know, there's less and less supply every day. And I just feel like it's the ultimate flex piece.
I mean, Silicon, you want to go first here?
Yeah, it's Todd, right? I mean, that's enough said. It's the first Veve NFT, right? So that alone puts that sub 100 set at a whole different level on Veve.
Yeah.
And yeah. So Lewis Morgan spending 50 something K, like I think that was actually a value buy for him. Meaning like, you know, like he was like, yeah, this makes sense. And he likes to go for those low mints and key pieces. And so he saw it and he's like, this is going to be a multi-million-dollar piece. Let me get it now while I can at, you know, 50K. And people were like, oh, 50K. But I think that, yeah, they were, you know, they're a little short-sighted because he's buying it for a reason, right? He's buying it because he's going to hodl it and he's going to fast forward. And you fast forward, let's say a year, 2, 3 years from now, you know, that's a museum piece, even 5 years from now, right? Those are going to be his part of Veve history. When you look at how much money is being pumped into Veve, you know, those become more and more valuable. I mean, again, one of the first NFTs, can you say one of the first, you know, under 40 NFTs that Veve, I mean, and actually public. So yeah, if you think of the public, yeah, it's like what, 20 something or under 20, somewhere around there, the Veve allowed to the public. So I mean, it's huge. Outside of the Rizzo 15 or Mr. Rizzo 15, but
yeah, and congrats on the partners. I know that you also made a new move from a low mint partner, Silicon, so that must have been another nice one to add to the collection.
Yeah, I got a 162 partners. Partners is getting kind of lofty, so you have to get creative, and I was happy with the deal. And partners is one of those that, you know, everyone's freaking out about it. Like they're like, how do I, you know, they're literally trying to get to partners, and that whole golden set just is proving to be extremely valuable. So I'm up to 70 golden moments. I'm happy about that. Wow. I'd like to get to 100 if I can, but I won't, you know, do anything drastic to do that because, you know, like again, a lot of my other sets are collectibles, not necessarily sets, are in an okay position, right? So I'm okay just kind of hodling.
Amazing. And Graba, are you a big Mickey fan as well?
Yeah, I got in on the Steamboat bandwagon. Not to say that I don't have my fair share of, you know, golden moments, but I don't know. That to me, without the FA tag, I know that's the big, you know, question here, but that's the first Mickey. There's no question about it, you know.
Yeah.
That's what Disney released as the first, you know, animated Disney, right? That's Mickey.
Yeah. And so, you see it in every movie. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so look, I'm big on Disney. I definitely have repositioned myself to be heavier on Disney now with you know, with what it looks to be that, you know, that is going to bring the most users in right now.
You've been flexing on Twitter with your stack.
Well, yeah, I also have some other stacks too. I feel like, you know, we have, you know, I hate to say undervalued pieces in season 1, but we do. Yeah. Oh wait, sorry, season 2 was series 5, season 2 for Batman Black and White.
Oh, this is
I don't know, so long ago. But I just think that there's a lot of value in that, and people are missing the fact. Yeah, they're missing the fact that there's FAs all over there, and so I've been stacking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people are still confused about the whole FA thing. And what I keep telling everybody is like, if there's 1,000 other NFTs that are modeled after Wonder Woman, like how do people distinguish value over time with all these other platforms that might get those licenses? So I'm like, that's why the FA is so damn important, right? And I feel like people are just sleeping on season 1. And I think I've said this in my last video, but I'm like, it's already Christmas. Go and check out some of these amazing NFTs that are here. And although we're still bound to get a lot more great ones, I mean, what we already have in the app is insane. Like to find Veve, this project, and be able to capitalize on these opportunities is insane. So I feel like, you know, anyone that's, you know, thinking that they're waiting for the next best thing, like Mickey and Friends are here. I mean, it's, what is it? I think the 3rd or 4th most expensive franchise in history. I think it's like $82 billion, and Winnie the Pooh's right after, you know? Yeah. And what are you guys thinking about those lenticular cards? Do you think that's a big one, or do you think it's kind of good, it's a little overlooked, or you think it's in the right place? I'm just curious what you think on that.
I think it shocked a lot of people, to be honest. I mean, I think everyone anticipated Goofy being as cool as he looked would be what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mickey is rivaling Mickey. They're about even on the common level, which is crazy. I did not expect it. I stacked a little as always, just because you have to be cautious. But it's a shock to me.
Right.
Yeah, I think that the new set surprised me as well. I think also part of it is people are trying to switch up their strategies, right? So they see that, hey, I mean, this is a really cool card, right? You got Mickey, you got all the friends, right? Minnie, everybody, Pluto, Donald, Daisy, and Goofy, and there, there's video, right? And there's a signature on the back that's the same signature that they use in the parks. So when you go ask for an autograph from one of the characters, they're trained. Veve Magic let me know this. They're trained to do that signature, right?
Wow.
So yeah, I think that people are going a little nuts because you're getting a lot of things. You're getting, I wouldn't say they're not calling them FA, but they're first appearance
edition, right? Yeah.
I mean,
But
they're the first time you've ever seen Donald, Minnie, Daisy, Pluto, and Goofy, right, on the app. And then there are videos, which are pretty cool, and there's music. I mean, there's a lot of like utility, I guess, built into this little thing, and it's powerful. So people were like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna stack these. And I was thinking about stacking like some decent amount of minis at like 500, but like right now I'm like, I'm gonna wait for the market to settle. My strategy is a little different now, where I can kind of pick and choose, and I can say, like Grubba V was saying, like, hey, season one's undervalued, or Batman Black and White FAs are undervalued. Like I can kind of pick a spot, and just like I did with Ultra Rare, and I actually added a couple more Ultra Rare Storms, something like a 104, 105 total. Sorry, you can hear my kids screaming in the back. My son's ready for his nap time. But I'm just still stacking kind of the ones that I believe are gonna, and the Goldens, of course. I know everyone's going for the lenticular set. I added like 9 more Goldens to my stack.
Wow.
And the Goldens are disappearing. It's not like they're getting stagnant. They're R2D2, C3PO, they're all pumping. It's kind of I don't want to say humbling because it's Disney, but like that's their first run at it. They really did it. Those golden moments knocked it out the park.
Yeah. And like you guys said earlier to me too, like it's the first category of those major brands within Disney. It's like, Star Wars, $65 billion industry. So it's like despite, Darth Vader, Han Solo and all these other more popular characters coming, they still represent the first of that category. And it's a dynamic duo. I mean, it's C-3PO and R2-D2, right?
It's iconic. I mean, that's the thing, is they're iconic pieces. We saw the video, and I think we talked about it in our last video of the executive talking about this, but like really, these are really, really important pieces when you think of Disney collectors. Where Grubba lives, he lives around a lot of Disney stuff, I'm sure, and you see it where you're at. You grew up in Disney. I even asked you about the hat, because at first I was like, the hat, it's kind of boring. You're looking at it, you're spinning around, like what is this? And you were telling me about like how it reminded you of your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When growing up in LA, Disneyland, they had Fantasia. That was like a night extravaganza with water and all sorts of stuff. And Mickey actually comes out wearing that hat, just like in the in the movie that you see as a kid. So to me, that was like super important to have. I think it was super important for Disney, and I think people overlooked it early, just like Silicon pointed out last time with the pizza truck. That is an iconic piece too. And the people who know, they picked up on this stuff very early, and I guess I don't know, man. It's insane that we're watching the movement we're watching. I don't know if you guys have looked at any of the charts, but there's like websites like Cherry Charts and things like that, where you can watch the supply shrink and the prices are rising. And even when they dip, there's not much supply change. The supplies are low. So people are definitely starting to hodl these pieces.
Yeah, and I am seeing a little bit of market, I don't know, manipulation in some ways, where people are trying to shake loose some stuff, right? And people panic. And we've seen that. There's always some FUD. I like how Veve recently came out and kind of put out some policies around the bots, and because that was like the biggest latest FUD, right? People accounts are getting locked. Veve mentioned there was over 300,000 accounts that were frozen, right? So literally like these items are now frozen in time. They can't transfer them in, they can't transfer them out. And of course, if you're not a bot and you were collateral damage, they kind of outline what to do. But yeah, it's they're getting serious. I mean, that's some serious value that's locked away that only increases the value of the collectibles that are available out there.
I think that there's still question as to whether or not they're locked away forever, because I think a lot of them were also false positives. I know a lot of people who had their accounts, disabled, which we now know is the red bar. You can't even get in. Restricted means you can't use the marketplace. And I think that they still have some tweaking to do to their bot security system, because it's a shame when even small accounts, big accounts get blocked. I know I experienced it one time where I upgraded my phone and I logged in I logged out and I tried to log in on the new phone and I was disabled. So I want to believe those 300,000 accounts have something locked away forever, but I'm not sold on it just yet.
Well, yeah, in the article they released, they said that there's a if you're innocent and you weren't botting, you weren't scripting, or that there's an out for you, right? So, but yeah, I mean, if you think about it, bots were getting out of control. People were selling bots. People were they're advertising. We got hit all the time with them, right, on the channels. In our personal Discord, we absolutely didn't put up with any of that. So anyone that was trying to sell a bot, anyone that we knew was even botting, we kicked them out of the Discord. So
yep.
We just, the integrity, I think, of the system is the most important. It's up to the community to really enforce that. So if you look at an account and you're like, oh yeah, it looks like a bot, then don't buy from it, right? And if you're a real user, then set up your account so it looks real. Have collectibles, have stuff in your account, and let people view your profile. That's the other thing that I kind of opened up is early at first, we're like, oh, we have a lot of stuff. Do we really want people to see how many collectibles we have and all that other stuff? But at the end of the day, it's more about like, saying, hey, I'm a real user, I'm a real collector, come look at my stuff for free. And when I buy something from you, it was real. And when you sell something, when you buy something from me, I'm a real seller, right? I'm not just some bot.
Right.
And I think what's really interesting about that point you bring up too is that in the future, like, relationships can be built off the buying and selling. When you see like, a familiar face that's bought off you and vice versa, that's how, you can be, start these different groups or have these relationships that you see in the community. And when we're in the Veve-verse, that'll be even more pronounced where, like, you'll be able to see those names all the time. So it won't just be like on Twitter or whatever. So I think that's an amazing point. And my dad's account was actually disabled. So my dad was Friendly Crossfire. And after they did an investigation, because I think they did it manually, they just came back and apologized and said, your account's completely unrestricted. And it was a pretty quick process. So I imagine, there's going to be a lot of users like that as long as they prove that they're innocent.
Yeah, totally. Right. Like if you're not doing anything wrong, then you're not doing anything wrong, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. And yeah, Veve is trying to figure it out, and they put out the policy that I'm glad they put out the article, at least put the stake in the ground to stop all the FUD, and and I'm sure there'll be something else like MTL now, right? Like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it takes time to build this stuff out, and to deal with bots. It's not an easy problem to solve.
Absolutely.
People, if you have a computer program, you can program something, right? So it's easy to kind of get in. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what's funny now too is like, I don't know if you heard, but the gems that people were thinking that it was going to be dirty gems or something that they didn't want to buy. And there's been some crazy discounts out there. I think it was like 0.4. And I've never really bought gems, but I was like looking at that going like, oh my God, like people are getting insane deals.
Yeah. There was this huge gap, right?
Yeah, there is a gap now. But I think the gap is also people that want out, and that's fine. Let them get out. I'm all for it. And I think the selling of gems, if you're selling more than 500, they're actually buying it off the marketplace. They're using other pieces. So, I don't know why Veve would be upset about it. They see the transaction, they take a piece of the transaction. Obviously they're frowning upon it. But buying 600 gems at a time is really difficult.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the Veve perspective is, Veve wants to be compliant in all these countries, and I think we underestimate like what it takes to get MTL approved in all these various spots, and not this AMA, but the last AMA they mentioned. Some countries won't be able to MTL, right? And that's just the fact. So like even those people in those countries may want to get their value out. But I think the ratio is way off right now. I feel like 0.4, 0.5, I think it's just panic selling.
Right.
And kind of your point earlier, Chad, about building a community and knowing who to trade with and all that. And that's what Grub and I had to do early on, right? We had to build a community, we had to trade, we had to build trust, we had to send first, right? We had to trust strangers. I remember doing one trade, and this guy was like getting a smog check or something, and he's like, okay, hold on, I'll transfer it to you in 30 minutes when my smog check is done. I'm like, who is this guy? And like, I don't even know who this is, right? And I got my stuff, but it makes you nervous, right? Because there's a lot of value going back and forth here. And that's how it was early on. I mean, we had to just, like, it was the Wild West. You had to hustle, you had to get stuff. The marketplace was closed for months.
Yeah.
Literally months.
And there were some escrow channels that were developed by some OGs that actually were very helpful to people. They're still around. I haven't used them in a long time. Most people who trade with me like you at this point, we know who they are. We don't really go outside of our circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a different time back then. I don't think people realize, with all the the up in arms and complaining about how everything is, I don't think they realize how good they have it right now. Veve is actually in a really good place compared to where it was before.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to log in an hour before, before the drop, or else you wouldn't be able to get in, right? It would randomly crash, right? So there was, this is why people were trying to use multiple devices, because if it crashed on one, you at least had a shot on the other one. So yeah, Veve's come a long way. There's still some quirks. I mean, even just like the marketplace browsing quirks were there for a long time, where you couldn't see all the collectibles, or you get this weird, these weird issues. Even myself, when I had my 150 tots, I couldn't see all my tots, right? Like literally I could only see 120. I had to trust they were in my account. I could see when they, like, let's say they were sent to me, or when I bought them, I could click on the link, or if they were transferred to me. But or if I wanted an auction, like my 888, I couldn't see that 888 for a long time. Which was kind of funny, unless I clicked on the auction that I won, from the notifications side. But yeah, it was a little quirky. They're still working through it. I'm looking forward to the web interface and how they end up handling that, and then how they handle security in general, because I think we need another level of security. We need to one up from just email. The values here are so high. Obviously I have enabled security on my email, right, to do additional two-factor. So, but still, I mean, additional layers are always good. I wouldn't mind saying something like, hey, what if I, kind of like what you see with some of the exchanges, right, where they say, okay, you gotta, two people have to factor it, right? Two people have to authorize this. So
right.
I mean, that would make sense if you want to vault away some of your items, right? Or even take them off and put them on a hard wallet. That would be kind of cool too.
Do you actually remember the time where there was no 2FA?
Yeah, it was so scary, man.
Oh my God. Everyone was like, well, I don't want my account to get taken. And then you never had like a mistake. Like now you have it where you're about to send a collectible to somebody and it tells you, are you sure you want to? And punch in the code, and you can actually make sure. Back then it was like one and done. If you did it wrong, just like crypto, it's gone forever. You ain't getting it back.
And it was just email and password, man. That's the crazy part. It was just email and password. And, that's when people had their stuff stolen. And so if you put that stake in the ground and said, okay, we're adding the 2FA now, or we're adding the email verification. So from now on, we're not going to go ahead and take collectibles back and move them around in the case where you got that, got those special mints.
Yeah, they really covered the user and themselves with that move.
Yeah.
I love the idea you were saying about almost like a Veve hard wallet. Like it would be so cool to almost have like some kind of account, like within Veve or something that you could just store things, like lock them away, so to speak, right? Because that's what my biggest concern was, is joining when I first just found out like they're like digital collectibles. I'm like, let me take the chance. But I always wanted to like lock things away in a hard wallet. Like I wanted that thing to be in a safe, in a shelf, and nobody knows where it is. That's what that's my idea of holding some of these NFTs for the long term. And I know that that's a possibility, but I mean, again, with Disney and with these IPs, I mean, I feel as though they will stay, within the app or within something ideally. But what do you guys think? Do you think long-term, you could maybe see a lot more of these IPs being transitioned outside of Veve?
I mean, I
don't know.
I was just I'll go first. I got
Go
the
for
Akomi
it.
hard wallet, so I would love to see NFTs being able to be stored on that. That'd be kind of cool. If they could tie it into the Veve account, then great. Now I've got my, and so their hard wallet is really just the keys. So when you push the button, it's just sending the keys. So the private keys are on the wallet, but still it's another level of security that, you know, you're not going to have your MetaMask hacked or something, right? Or something like that. So, and then the other thing I'll say, and I'll let Grubba B chat talk about it, but is look at the guy that has all his Bitcoin stuck on, you know, we hear these stories about people have all their Bitcoin stuck on like a hard drive somewhere that's encrypted, you know, so there needs to be an out, at least with the Akomi hard wallet. If you lose that hard wallet, there's a process, or if it stops functioning, there's a process to get back in. With some of these other things, you're done. You're done. So I do like that centralization of Veve, that they could put you in a position where they could kind of back you up in some ways if you verify your identity, and you could restore your access. But like, yeah, I wouldn't mind it being completely offline.
I'm okay right now with where it is. I mean, right now the ball's in their court. So if anything goes wrong, I mean, it's on them. And I know everyone's like worried what, you know, brands can leave the app. What I think that we're going to see a lot more brands coming into the app. I think that this app is showing that, you know, its success is going to allow it to be like the next OpenSea, and we're going to see, you know, more artists that, you know, probably most of us haven't heard of, but the platform in which they're presenting everything and how they do, you know, the drops, which probably going to change now too. But again, if you have more of the OpenSea artists coming on board, you know, there could be a different system for them on how they would deal with the drops. Maybe they bring back the old school click a button drop because the demand is lower, and they want to, you know, bring some excitement back to the app. But, you know, seeing the numbers between, you know, all these paying apps on a device that's in your hand, you know, everyone has this. That's like the big appeal to me with Veve is, you know, they're really reaching out to people who don't even know about crypto. This is not a crypto thing. You know, if you're smarter and you know, then you'll know you should buy the coin. You should really invest yourself. But, you know, collectors, this is what this is about. David Yu is a collector. He wanted to build an app where people could come and collect. And that's what he did. And you don't need crypto to buy it. You just need your credit card, just like walking to any store, which is really cool.
It is cool. And you're into Omi as well, right?
Yeah, I got some Omi. I like the idea behind it. And I like crypto in general. You know, I've been into crypto since, you know, at least 2016. So I believe that they have the right idea with Omi.
Right.
What do you think about Dr. Profit and like the moves that he's making? Because he's
big time. There's no doubt about it. That guy,
time.
yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's really, really smart. Talked to him a bunch, and he really believes in this project. And I think we can all see that with, you know, how much he's cleaned up on the markets. And, you know, there was a time where no one knew who he was. And they were just, you know, they would post this guy, Dr. Profit, you know, just bought, you know, I can't believe he just bought this. He just bought that. And it was, you know, getting insane. And then people, you know, I'm sure started reaching out to him just like they did with us. But he's amassed quite the collection. I think I saw him post. He was definitely the first to 100 sets. And I'm pretty sure he has like some 10,000 plus collectibles in his account.
Yeah, he posted a screenshot of 8,000 something. I'm guessing he has double that at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He's got it. Yeah, the accounts tend to get laggy, so I'm sure they've given him permission to have multiple for storage.
That's what he told me too. He said 4,000 seems to be the max. He says before he can't really see any of his collectibles. So he's like, but you know, so how many whales? So first of all, I want to clear up a misconception, because a lot of times people see whales and they go, oh, you know what? They're going to buy all this up and then floor 100 TAWs as an example. And I'm like, you guys, it's backwards. It's really, they help develop and propel these important NFTs forward. You know, and if you were to sell them, it's not going to be in this massive fashion where you're just flooring everything. It's going to be very incremental over time. And there's a huge calculation to this. So maybe we can just talk a little bit about that to kind of clear.
Well, there's two types of whales. There's whales that, you know, go into the pump and dumps to make money in the short term. and eventually they get squeezed out, right? And then you have, hodlers. And I think people underestimate the fact that there's probably more hodlers than there are, pump and dumpers. Pump and dumpers are typically like groups, they get together because they don't have the money to be a whale.
Right.
And we stayed away from those pump and dumpers early. Like I remember seeing the toddlers and all these people like, hey, let's get together and let's see how many you have. All right, we're going to control the market. And I'm like, no, this is not for me. I'd rather just hodl because I know that Todd is valuable. I know that Joker FA is valuable on its own. I don't need a whole group to look like I'm manipulating the market or anything like that. And I get that, right? But yeah, you're right. There's different classifications of, I guess, market movers. The one thing I'll say about Dr. Profit's, people like Dr. Profit, is there is, people underestimate the amount of liquidity that he can bring to the market. And liquidity is important, right? You need to be able to have someone that's going to go buy floors. It's going to provide movement on pieces, especially important pieces. He did tweet the other day that he's not going to sell four collectibles. So I don't know what the time frame is, or maybe he just said, I'm not going to sell. I think it was Rizzo, Todd, Secret Rare Spidey, and partners. Right. And we know he's got a lot of partners.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, that's interesting. And I mean, it's so great to have whales like yourself come in here and just be able to kind of share, some of your stories with everybody. And, how many whales do you think are out there? I mean, are you guys familiar with most of them? Or are there new ones coming in every day that people are like, oh my gosh, who's this person or who's that? Like, what do you think about that?
There's whales. I'll let Grubba B chat on that first.
I mean, there's guys that are coming in that are buying straight off the marketplace that it's going to take a while before we know who they really are. The guys that I've found, the Telegram channels and, the black market Veve, trading, they might become more famous more quickly. But I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think that the whales are just starting, to come, especially with the migration, over to IMX once we're doing crypto for gems and people can come move in, the millions of dollars that they've made, hundreds of millions of dollars they've made on crypto over however many years they've been in it. I mean, we have to remember there's been people holding Bitcoin since it was less than a penny. So, there's money out there that we haven't even seen yet.
Right. That Pranksy tweet got me excited when he was like, hey, Veve, how do I get in here? How do I buy gems without going through 1,000 hoops? I'm like, come on, Pranksy, you and your 300,000 followers, let's go.
Yeah. So that's really going to be a big game changer, right? Is once we have that ETH and you can just, unload, right? And I mean, that's when you're going to see, because I'm even noticing it now, like Secret Rare Spider-Man went to whatever it was, 100,000 gems. And it's kind of like peaked out, right? Like came back down because who's got the liquidity to just go be buying 3 or 4 of those? But if you had, your 21,000 ETH in your account, then at that point, that's where you can really see this stuff take off. So one thing I always talk about with people is like, there's a lot of, FUD almost from the larger OpenSea community and these Bored Ape projects and stuff, looking at these, our NFTs with these serial numbers attached is almost like, they're not real, or they're not a big deal yet. But I would say that, like, despite having, multiple carbon copies of the same NFT, these are some of the most important NFTs of all time, despite whether you think so or not. Am I wrong? Like,
I agree. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The things that become popular on OpenSea are hit or miss. People are gambling, in my opinion. You come to Veve and you buy something, you're buying something that is intellectual property that is licensed from a huge brand name, and it holds its value just in the weight of the brand name. You're not losing out when you come to Veve. With Veve, you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I just keep thinking about OpenSea, and OpenSea is great, right? Because it's great for some reasons where you can go just build an NFT and sell it, and you have a marketplace. It's bad for a lot of reasons because people can get rugged, people can make mistakes, they can lose money on gas fees if they don't know what they're doing. they can send their NFT to somewhere else, right? So there's other platforms that are kind of in between. Like I would see Nifty Gateway is one of those where, you know, it's not necessarily a Veve, it's not necessarily a you know, OpenSea, but it's a kind of like a platform where you can still do trades. You can keep them on the on you know, on their platform, but you can also easily transfer them out to your ETH wallet if you want. So I think that yeah, there's for me what's interesting is yeah, all it takes is a couple of these guys with, you know, an ETH Rock or a, you know, or whatever, a couple of Bored Apes to be like, yeah, let me just drop one of these into Veve and see what happens. I mean, the amount of liquidity that I think is going to come is hasn't arrived yet is huge. And I think you know, once we're able to do that and you're able to buy with your crypto, right? Even if it's buying OMI to then buy NFTs, but there's a path, an easy path, just like right now I can just like Greba was saying, I can just put my credit card in and buy something. Once we have that easy path and we can send crypto to the app and then do it, you know, you look at Top Shots, you can deposit, you know, crypto, right? I'm pretty sure you can deposit ETH and stuff like to make purchases. Same thing with Nifty, you can deposit ETH to make purchases. So there's a lot of people that are ETH rich, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and all that money, you know, they're just like, oh, this isn't real because I can't get my ETH in there, so I'll move on, right? But they're paying attention, you know, in the background, and I really do see an easy 10x from here.
Right. Wow. So I'm just want to jump in because this gets me excited. Okay. So, you know, back in December, for instance, I think a lot of people presumed that there was a peak in the market, right? Because we're leading up to the cash out. And I mean, it did seem as though the cash out was, you know, just around the corner at that point. And then from that point forward, it was almost like a 5 to 6x, right? And I keep thinking to myself, you know, we have more and more collectibles coming in, and there's so much more to come. And at the same time, there's more users coming in. But when's the peak time to sell? Do you never sell because you're going to have renting opportunities and, you know, burning opportunities and staking your OMI, and things are just going to get crazier and crazier? Or is there a peak time to sell? Like, you know, and that's I think the hardest question that I'm having for myself is like, you know, if Cinderella comes in and it has 100 mints and it's gold, or if, you know, Buzz Lightyear comes in at 1,000 mints, and then the week after that it's Darth Vader, and then all of a sudden it's movie clips, and then it's Tom Brady throwing a winning touchdown, and then after that something else. It's like at some point, you know, even the size of your collections, you're going to come to a point where you're going to say, well, man, I don't know what to liquidate now because I'm holding grails. There's more grails. Do you see what I mean? So I feel like I'm curious just to what you think about that.
It's a balance, right? Veve's in a place where they want to create, you know, they want to create value for the collectibles, but they also want to balance it out. So I think that they're gonna be, it's in their best interest for people to stay in the market and to want more and more and more. And we're seeing that right now, right? The FOMO is real. Like people are literally like shoving in as hard as I can. And Veve is really good at that. You know, Al Khan, I think, has the formula. You know, he's kind of one of the key minds here. I mean, obviously David, you and Dan are key as well. But I mean, that you think about the Cabbage Patch Kid craze, right? Like people were just beating each other up to get these things, and moms were fighting in stores. And you know, you think of Pokemon, right? And if for whatever reason they're just going to add an extra layer of utility, can I see us, you know, running the streets like Pokemon Go style, trying to find collectibles at retail stores because there's a promotion at, you know, I don't know, Best Buy, and so if you go to Best Buy, you can snag that collectible. Are we going to be driving to Best Buy? Probably, right? So I just see that Veve is going to keep upping the game like that and keep adding utility and making these more and more valuable. And it's going to make people not want to ever get rid of some of them. I mean, will they still liquidate? Yeah. The renting utility is going to be pretty awesome, right? Because then people can get income from that. So I think for me, that's a big deal. I do like the idea of passive income. But yeah, I mean, I think that Veve is going to set it up in a way that, you know, it's going to be hard to try to escape once you're in, right? So I don't know. What do you think, Greba?
I'm going to go and talk about my rule. What's my rule? Dollar cost average, right? I love DCA. And I'm going to say that you're right. At some point, everyone's got to take profit, right? Just like crypto investing in the stock market. At some point, you take your profit, and it's whatever your comfort level is, and how much you want to stay in the game, for the future. But I will also say that, you know, picking up a collectible a week or a collectible a month, whatever your budget is, you know, is definitely something that is important to do. And to kind of not have yourself ever be in a position where you can't, you know, purchase the next grail, or I guess it's, you know, $6.99 to get a grail. I mean, you still try the drop, right? So you still have chances. But you're right. At some point, you know, you will hit a wall, and you'll have to make decisions as, you know, as to what you want to collect, what you want to hodl, what you want to, you know, turn into passive income. You know, and then there's some users that, you know, the flipping game is really all they can do, and you know, that's how they get to their pieces. You know, I know a lot of guys that didn't have much, and they got you know, Marvel 1 secret rares, and now they're, you know, different, you know, game. You know, their game has changed, their lives have changed with this app. So I guess the real answer here is it's your comfort level, but always be in, and always, you know, buy crypto, buy OMI, buy something. Because if you're buying it at some price today, yeah, it might go down tomorrow. But if you buy a little bit more, and you buy a little bit more, and it goes up, and you're still buying, you're going to see your dollar cost average game in full effect, you know, in a couple months or a year, when there's collectibles that maybe you couldn't afford, you know, throughout the year, but the next year you're going to have the OMI to do it.
Right.
And we've seen guys come in with 200. Is it Sam comes in with 200 pounds, and he's like, you know, flexing a 6-figure account. I mean, even you, Chad, you got that Disney video where you talk about how you flipped up that week.
So I've only put in like maybe $3,000 in total. And I've been able, and I think I put in like $600 back in October, and I was just catching the right wave. And then I had like $2,000 to play with, and I got super lucky in Disney week, and then partner went to friggin' 50K. You know what I'm trying to say? Secret Rare Spider-Man went to 100, so it was the right moves. But that's the crazy part of this app, is like you can literally take $5,000, like realistically now maybe 10, and come in and make $100,000 position in 6 months, you know, and like, and you don't have to be a Raven genius to do it. So, I mean, I think that's the most amazing part of it, you know, and even looking at my younger brother, he kind of went out and then it's coming back in now. And, you know, he was smart. He grabbed 2 R2s, and now R2's at like whatever it's at, right? 8.5K. So it's like, and you can easily sell that for 6K USDT offline. So, I mean, you know, it's amazing, like how people are missing this. And I think, like, you know, the more kids and more people that come on are just going to say, what an opportunity. But now I find like even the Marvel Mighties you can't even catch those now, man. Like, I mean, you're looking at like $150 entry. I'm like, I can go to a comic book store and get like a 9.8 graded comic, you know, I can go out to take my wife to a fancy dinner for that price, instead of buying like Ghost Spider, you know, for like whatever, 14,000 editions. So, you know, I do think it's starting to get up there a little bit. Like it's starting to get a little pricey for new users. But
competition is fierce, man. The competition is fierce. The demand is fierce. People are trying to make moves, and they're trying to stack, right? We heard someone that had like 900 Ghost Spideys. I'm like, what? How did you even stack that much? You know, like, but yeah, people are trying to make moves. They see some of the moves that other people have made, and they go, hey, I want to do that. So let me go ahead and stack. I
thought I was going to be smart and buy a bunch of common DeLoreans on the drop, and I did. I bought a ton. They had like no limit, and then I used to give them away because they were worth like 19 whatever it was, you know, $10, $19. So I used to give them away to people, you know, like my nephews, their friends, and now they're holding on to like $120, you know, that, you know, no one realized. You know, I had a couple other friends that I told them to go buy some Darwin Cooks because it was like the last thing, you know, left in the store. And I was like, don't expect much, because I mean, what were those doing forever? And actually one of my friends hit me up today. He's like, you know, I opened the app for the first time in months, and he's like, I couldn't believe what that thing was worth. So I just threw it out there, not thinking it would sell. And he's like, I got 222 gems for it. And I was like, that's great. You know, that was, you know, an investment that he didn't even realize. He still has 22 left in his account, or 20 left in his account.
Yep. Cook was up to 400 like in the last pump, right? So it was funny because we were chatting. I remember this specifically. We're going back and forth on what collectibles to buy when the store was starting to sell out. So Todd I'm like, buy as many Todds as you can. Yeah. And and we were chatting. I think at one point you're like, okay, I got enough Todds. I'm like, no, keep buying Todd. And then you ended up stacking more Todds after. But then it was like there was Joker FA, right? Remember we were stacking Joker FAs, and then Darwin Cook was like the last Batman to sell out because it was 9,000 editions. And I'm like telling everyone, stack Cooks, it's inventory. And you're like, fine.
It's liquidity later.
We start buying a bunch of Cooks.
Yeah, I think at one point I had 100 Cooks.
Yeah.
It became liquidity though, like you said.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what was he like, 49 or 59, whatever? I think $49. I mean, 250. That's a 5x, right? So not bad, right? Even for and if you're coming in the app, you're looking at something like Cook, and you're like, oh, he's kind of a cheap Batman. Let me go get him. Right. And then he's a Canadian, so there it goes, Chad. Actually, is he from Toronto?
Yeah.
Or he was. Yeah.
You know what's hilarious is my younger brother told me this story the other day. He reached out to a bunch of his friends who were like 20 or 19 at the time and said, go buy this Batman, Todd. Okay. And we didn't know that some of these guys actually bought. So he like spoke to like one of his ex-girlfriends who bought like 3 or something.
Nice.
Yeah. And she hasn't opened the app for like a year, or almost a year, right? Since March. And he was telling me the story like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, he helped her sell it offline. I think she made like $28,000 or something like about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she used it for her college, her university. So
it's amazing.
It's so cool, right? Some of these stories and like this is somebody that like my brother convinced to do it, right? Like, and we just thought she never did, and then it turns out she asked her dad for the money. And that's how this all kind of happened. And now her dad's like, you're such a little genius. Like, like you should start an NFT YouTube channel, all this stuff. So but I wonder how many stories there are like that, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely some stories out there like that.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money. I mean, if you're in college to be able to pull that much money if she bought 3, I mean, literally a $240 investment.
Yeah.
To pull 20 something thousand dollars, 28,000, whatever it was, out. Amazing.
And they were sub 1,000s too, because that was at the time when I first found out about it, right?
Wow.
I think they were like 800. So that was the
1Gs, baby. So sub 1Ks.
Wow. Yeah. I wish I was wiser for the 1900 line. Like I was there for that. And I didn't go crazy to try to get the 1939. It just didn't hit me right away. But I'm like, if I look back at that, I would have been from 1920 to 2000. I would have just been
just the years, right? Like I showed you my video of the Todds I've got. You saw there was a few years in there. I think it was like 1970, 1969. But what happened back in the day was whenever there's years or special mints,
everyone would hold them all.
Yeah. But they would go for a run in the store, right? So all of a sudden you're trying to get these mints, and then everyone goes at once, and then they throw back. They don't buy the mints. It's kind of funny. They didn't buy the mints, so they recirculate back in, and you're trying to figure out, did that one sell? And you're buying mints to try to like get past the 90 seconds or whatever window it was. And you're just like, okay, fine, I'll buy more of these to see if I can get that special mint.
Right.
You just let people know how old school we are. There was a time where you got to see the mint before you purchased it.
Yeah.
Remember that? And that's how everyone knew what they were going to get. They would just throw them back in. You could
reserve it. And people would gang up on the because they were in order, and people would gang up on that collectible, and they like all try to hit it for the 777 or the whatever mint number they're going for, the 1, 2, 3, 4, or the special mints.
Did you guys know right away when you saw those like sub 1,000s that they would have a premium? Like I was always thinking like, oh, kind of a cool number, but I remember I bought a Joker. I think it was like a $399 or something, and then I kept buying like the $499 because it was that much time. I just waited on the market. Right? to go up, and I was like, oh no, that's 488. Okay, no, 482. Like, and then eventually you get there. But I sold them so early because I didn't wait a long enough for it. But I'm aware of somebody that got the 1939 Batman, the Todd. And I remember at the time he was like, oh, this is gonna be $1 million NFT. And I'm like, buddy, like, maybe you'll get to 100K. But now I'm like, that is $1 million NFT.
I'm pretty sure he sold it for like 20 grand.
That was at 88.
No.
Oh, it was 88? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God.
Yeah. 39 being the first Batman first Batman ever, right? Exactly. Yeah, and it was on the market for a bit. The 1939, I think, was on the market Even the 88 was on the market for like and the 423 was on the market,
Wow.
which is the
Oh
cover
yeah,
number.
the
That was
cover number.
20K.
Yeah,
That was 20K on the market for a while before Batman, when it was just chilling at 500 to 1,000. It was 20K. I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
hit
Marvel.
rewind.
So we did. So from my perspective, I didn't really think. I wasn't even really thinking about my numbers at the time.
Right.
Meaning like I was just buying. I was just trying to get them all. I didn't realize like the importance of those earlier mints, because like my first Todd was 500 range, like 5xx,
Wow.
and then I look back at my collection. I've got 3 that are connecting, right? So it's like 540, 541, 542, something like that, and it's pretty cool, right, to kind of think about that, because that's like such an OG flex. But yeah, people weren't even going for Todd. Like it was kind of funny because people were sort of sitting on the sidelines. Some people were like, "Oh yeah, it's Todd, it's important," but they were going after the higher end items like the Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo.
There's always been the Rizzo versus Todd thing, and I think Dr. Profit highlighted that not too long ago, saying that Rizzo Todd will never pass Rizzo, and I still think he will in some way, but again, Dr. Profit's got some big bags, so he can kind of make it happen the way he wants it to happen. But
he might be controlling both of those at this point.
yeah. Well, he said his ratio is 2-1, so he's got 2-1 on Rizzo versus Todd, meaning twice as many Todds as Rizzo's. But that means he's got a lot.
He's got a lot,
yeah. His Rizzo's 1/4 the amount, so it's like almost twice as many Rizzos in a sense. Yeah. Interesting. One thing that I did wrong that you guys did right is that I liquidated a lot of my commons. Like I remember I told you I had like 18 Todds when I first joined, and I had a bunch of stuff, and I liquidated it for like more scarce collectibles. So I went after the golden Moogly, but I had to like enter at a much higher price point. Like I think I bought it for like 8K, but back then, Todds were 500 as an example, right? So it's like I liquidated a lot of stuff I got like a 278 Rizzo, I got all these other ones, but then I was left with fewer things. And then now, like, looking back in time, I'm like, man, if I would have just kept what I had, that was about $500,000 just in way back, like without even doing anything.
We just kept pouring money in, dude. We just kept shoving money in. I kept shoving until I pretty much ran out of liquidity, right? Like I literally was like,
didn't you like sell your car?
I sold my car. Yeah, I sold one of my extra cars, my Golf R, right? And I just kept shoving in, right? Because it's like, well, and then at some point I'm like, okay, and this was right around when Disney came out. I'm like, what am I going to do at this point? I'm going to, keep shoving, and I'm kind of stretching the boundaries of what I'm comfortable with. So I transformed into, selling some Todds off, right? And again, that was hard. That's hard. It's hard to sell any Todds, but it is what it is. But I leveraged that into golden moments, and I'm happy with that position. But yeah, it was really about not really selling. It was about not selling too early, right? And I think that's the challenge. I still got a gold Moogly. I remember your video, Chad, when you first bought that gold Moogly. I was like, wow. And I got mine after you got yours, and you're like flexing it like on the sidewalk or something. And I remember hearing your music, your NFT Pirates music in the background. Just like flexing it, right? So yeah, it was inspiring.
It's still my favorite NFT. I'll be honest. I mean, I love, C3PO. I love like the look of it. I love the Todd. I love partners. But I mean, in terms of the flex, like I'll just never forget the feeling that I bought the gold Moogly when I was in the Starbucks line. I was like driving with my wife. I just sold my last item, and I had the liquidity. And literally, as the person's passing me my freaking triple whip latte, whatever, yeah, I was like. And I just had so much relief and then when you project that into AR, with our community at the time, that was the flex. Other than Donnie, that was like the next best thing. And I still think it might revert. Like I'm thinking there's a lot of hype right now about these really popular items, but I was saying like there's a lot of rich people with fuck you money. And I think that they're going to come in and just be like, well, I just bought 4 to 6 gold Mooglies and nobody can get these because now it's a 250K floor, whether they sell or not. It's a low quantity. It's a series 1 first secret rare. Like there's gonna be people and then you're gonna be sad that you don't have one. But I do feel as though even though the popular stuff is winning the day, I feel like sometimes that and the right items, those scarce ones, and you don't know who's gonna be backing it up. Like you get a few celebrities going in and buying those, right? Because they want things that nobody else can get.
I mean, when I got my gold Moogly, the guy that I worked with it on told me, yeah, this is gonna be expensive one day. So, but and one day was sooner than I realized, right? And so like it is a flex piece. It does have that grittiness, right? We talked about that. where just it's the older image, right? And people are like, oh, but that, the new stuff looks better. It's like the Mermicornos is series 1 and series 2, right? You can kind of see the difference between those two. But I think that's actually attractive because you look at like the crypto community and people that collect NFTs, and they like flexing like the punks and the rocks and you're like, okay, I guess, but it's the same on Veve, right? It's a flex. There's only so many available. And there were some market problems on that drop too, from what I understand. Wow. People weren't able to complete their transactions to make a purchase. It was like kind of a lot of drama around that drop. I mean, obviously Veve's had challenges with the amount of demand and just kind of setting up the systems and stuff like that. But they've definitely come a long way, no doubt.
Wow.
I got a question for you, Silicon, because where is the weirdest place you completed a transaction?
Yeah. Kind of like the Starbucks coffee line. The one I remember is being in an Uber, talking to this guy. He drove me to my brother's house, and I was on a work meeting, and so I was on this hour-long Uber telling him all about Veve and telling him to check it out. And then I had about 10,000 gems in my account, or 11,000, whatever it was, for partners. And I remember saying, "Oh, this is a great mint I want," and I'm showing him right in front of me, and I spent like the money on partners right in front of him, and this guy was just like, "What the hell? what did you just do?" I'm like, "Had to get that mint. That's the one I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for a good mint on partners to drop, right?" So that's probably it inside of an Uber, and I'm sure that guy at least did some investigation at Veve or something, hopefully.
Oh, definitely, and I'm sure he's got stories for people in his next Uber.
Yeah, let me just drop $10,000 right in front of you. Yeah.
What about you, man? What's the weirdest place?
I don't. My first Rizzo, actually. Silicon was running the escrow. He was like our middleman because he brought us together. And I was on the golf course, and I think it was like my second time golfing ever. And I'm like telling all my buddies, "Hold up one second, I gotta buy a Rizzo." And they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then once I got it, I put that thing right in the middle of the golf course, and I showed them exactly what it was. And those are some of the guys that actually went out and they bought, some other, collectibles within the app, and they're very happy these days.
Wow. Good thing they went golfing with you that day.
Yeah.
Might have been your second time golfing, but I mean, despite how good your drive was, I mean, you made them rich after that. So that's good.
You got to flex that pic on Twitter. I want to see it. The golfing Rizzo.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I was just trying to, again, back in the day, we're just trying to like make it happen. And I think did I buy the Rizzo first? I think I bought the Rizzo first, and then I came in and said, like, "Hey, you want, come buy one?"
It was like with Ray or something like that from Telegram.
I don't remember.
I remember. It was the most expensive Rizzo I ever bought to date.
Right. So what is it like? Everyone always has this debate: partners, Secret Rare Spidey, or Marvel One SR. And is it one of those three that will be the most expensive, or is there like something in the shadows, for instance, like Givenchy Pride as an example, that could take the cake, or is it so unforeseen that we still don't really know and it's all just a guessing game? But I feel like partners, I'll give you an example. I did a poll 3 weeks ago and I said, which one's going to be the most expensive? 80% about said Spidey, SR Spidey. I did a poll this week, like same exact poll, and like 55% was partners, right? And it's just like, and this is like, this isn't a small poll. It's like 14 to 2,000 people, 1,400 to 2,000 people that responded. So, what do you think? Do you think that's one of the most expensive, or is, could the gold Moogly, for instance, or Donnie still hold that value?
I think it's.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I think it's tough to say because there's also that element that we have to talk about where everybody wants that shiny new toy that Veve's releasing, right? Like there's so much talk today about how the new Supergirl is just so much better than the last Supergirl they released, but the last Supergirl has the FA, but they really like this one more, so maybe it'll overtake it one day.
Her eyes are how it looks. Her eyes are a little off on the first one.
Anyway, so it's just a matter of like perception too, and what's new. But like we are. I think Grail is a new term now, right? We didn't really have Grail pieces until that comic dropped. Really, that comic became the first Grail in my mind. That everyone noticed because from $6.99, we traveled all the way up to, I think, what is it, 60 or 70?
Yeah.
So, I think Grail is there are definite Grails. There'll be some new Grails. There'll be some blue chips. It's really hard to like distinguish what's going to hold and what's not. But again, the more, simple supply and demand, the more people hold, the less people sell, the less people have a chance to get it. It's going to drive the price up. Right. It's simple.
Right. Yeah. I think that, out of that category, I'd pick partners as well right now. At the same time, like there's different strokes for different folks, meaning if you're the Disney fan, then partners is your Grail, right? Yeah. If you're just like, you're a crypto guy, you come in and you want to flex the first of something like you were talking about earlier, the Moogly could be it, right? So, could the Moogly be 250K and partners be 200? Yeah. Could the Moogly be, 100K and partners be 50K? Yeah. I mean, but it's not as liquid, right? So there's not as many of them. And I think that also has a factor in things, right? Because if you have a little bit more, you have more people flexing, more people talking about it, kind of like Todd. I think one of the other advantages Todd has for Rizzo, and again, this is kind of how I say it, there's more of them. So there's more people to flex, there's more people to talk about it, and it stands out a little bit more than Rizzo. Although, of course, it's Rizzo. And we see that gap happening right now. I think when I checked in the market earlier today, Rizzo's kind of coming down a little bit. Todd's kind of stabilizing around 11 or 12. So all of a sudden there was this huge gap between them. And now they're coming closer again, just like when Todd was, 3 point something K and Rizzo was 4 point something K, not that long ago. So yeah, I think it's just sentiment. Also, if Darth Vader drops tomorrow, it's like, well, everything's going to shake loose, right? And we'll see, and maybe the Grails will, maybe you'll see partners drop 10 grand, right? But at the end of the day, there'll be people there to kind of scoop them up. If we see a discount on partners, I might add another one. Why not? If I can find a deal, right? Yeah. And that's what we look for at the end of the day, is try to get the value, because it's the value of the item, but it's also when you buy the item, right? That's really, really important, because that determines your profit and your mark, your how much room you got. Because if you bought partners at 3K and you're like, oh, partners dropped 10K, you're just like, whatever, you don't care, because you're up, right? And so, but if you bought partners at 50K and partner drops 10K, you might be a little nervous, right? And that's just kind of part of when you bought in, and you got to hodl, right? You got to put the time in. So that same saying that we've said before, in our interviews is, time in the market beats timing the market, especially on the important pieces. Mm-hmm. And so I think, that we see the ones, we talk, probably, and we see the ones that stand out, right? Like Steamboat Willie stands out, Partner stand, the whole Golden Moment set stands out. Yeah. And of course, the first Batman Black and White series stands out dramatically, right? And then the FA stand out, right? There's just certain standouts that stick out, and you're like, yeah, and you can tell by the liquidity in the market, right? That's also important. So what are people buying and selling the most of? Like, what do they want? What are they driving the price up on? And I think that has a factor too, because like you can have a Moogly, right? And you can flex it, but he's not as liquid as some of the other pieces, right? So, you got the gold Moogly, and you better be ready to hodl for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And partner sells. Like I've sold partner, like making moves, rebought, sold. But it's like, sometimes it surprises me how freaking quick it goes. I'm like, whoa, that was like 30 minutes I had that up. Or, I think I told you, but when the floor was, I think it was like 11K, I sold the 122 for like 24K, and it was within like 20 minutes, it was gone. Wow. And I was, and
that's a stellar mint though, dude. 122. I mean,
I know. Yeah. Well, I bought, like, I think I told you, but I bought a Todd and a SR Spotty from that. So it was still about 100K move. But now I'm like, I could probably sell that same partner now for probably 120K. Maybe.
Yeah, right? I don't think it would sell in 24 minutes though.
Yeah, exactly. But just like relative to where the other mints are, you're right. Like I think the cheapest sub 100 now is like 150K, and it's been sitting there for at least a week. So let's say realistically like 80K. So it was still a good move. But I'm like, now I'm like a little scared, because I'll be honest with you guys, I've been doing some more research on this. And I'm looking at SR Spidey, don't get me wrong, 1,000, editions, and it's got all this great stuff about it. But I'm like, it's going to always be diluted across those 59,000 other edition sizes. And then on top of that, there's so much Spider-Man stuff that you can buy like Spider-Man 2009. You got, you know, Ben Reilly. You're gonna have Miles Morales come in. They'll likely be FA. And then I'm looking at partners, and I'm like, partners will only ever, like, when are they gonna do another Mickey Mouse and Walt holding hands? Like, if you,
They're not.
they're
They're
not.
not going to do another Mickey Mouse and Walt. They're not going to pimp Walt out like that. Like, it's not their style. Like, they're very protective of Walt. I was actually watching another interview where they were talking about this, and they were saying, "Oh, it was your interview about the museum, right?"
Yeah.
And the museum in San Francisco, right? How they couldn't name it after Walt Disney, right? They couldn't call it the Walt Disney Museum. It was a Walt Disney Family Museum, right? With Sean. And it's true, right? Like they are so protective of Walt. Like, that's, in my opinion, I don't see another Walt coming out unless maybe he's in a movie and he's just, you know, like showing something. I just don't see why they would do that, because it's just iconic, and it's over. Like, that's it. That's the Walt. And people know that. People are like trying to figure it out. How do I get, you know, one Walt, or how do I get another Walt? And here I am trying to figure out how to get a ninth Walt, right? You know, like it's addicting.
Yeah.
Definitely is addicting.
I met a guy who actually like just took out, I think it was like $30,000 just to buy a Walt. Like, he just has one Walt, but he was learning about the NFT space, and like, it was a hard thing for him to do. Like, it wasn't like he's not a millionaire or anything like that, but he believed in that piece so much that, like, you know, he was telling me about it, and he thanked me for the YouTube video I did on it. And then he thanked, I think, other guys like Comics and Crypto. And like, you know, I think even was talking about Silicon, how he's like, and he just believed in that piece so much, and he just felt so strong about it. And, you know, there's just something about it just seems timeless. And I'll be honest, like, I'm looking at that 122 that I had, and I'm like, like, you know, I'll probably never get a chance to get a low mint like that. But another one of my buddies, and actually Silicon said this too, is that one day it'll just be, do you have one or not? You know, the mints will be, I mean, it'll be an added flex, but that's going to be a whales game, right? Like, nobody's going to be buying $1.5 million.
It'll be a celebrity game at that point, right? Like, at that point, it'll be like, okay, I got the Walt 162, or I got the, you know, I don't know, whatever the special mint of the day is. And, you know, or I think I have a 200 mint too, right? Maybe that'll be, you know, a big flex in the future. But what happens with a lot of things is when they go up in price, and I think I mentioned this, you see this with coins, you know, the premium goes away, you know, and you see that with the Secret Rare Spidey, right? You saw how people were like right near the floor, right under the floor, there's like a 100 and something mint. I'm like, what is going on? Because you know, they just want the money. Just give me the gems. I don't care that I have a 100 mint. I'll take the premium away. And this is what happens in collecting in general is, you know, those premiums do go away when people have made enough profit. They don't care. They see it run up and they're like, give me the money, give me the gems. Let me go splash in, you know, Mickey Mouse and partners and friends or whatever. And let me go stack that, right? And they made moves, right? I mean, people were dropping crazy amount of gems into like single items, right? It's pretty wild. And they're doing it fast. They're doing it very fast. They're doing it like in a day. Right. Where, you know, I think Grubba B and I, like, we took our time a little bit. We had more time to do it.
Yeah, we did. We were much earlier. You know, I'm even noticing that happening a lot in the last couple of days with the Secret Rare Invisible Woman. I mean, I've been picking off between $900 to $1,100, $1,200. You know, sub 500s. They want the gems. They're not believing in the piece. And I don't know. To me, that's like that's a big mistake. But never sell. I would never sell in the down market, which is where we are right now. So this is where you buy.
Right. And collectibles have to form that base, right? Like we see Todd went through it, right? Over and over and over. Kicked down the ground, stepped on, you know, 500. He goes up to 1,000, comes back down, right? 1,500 down to 1,200. Like literally, people are like, "Give me that, give me those gems," and they step on them. And eventually, you form enough, it's distributed enough, and there's enough wallets. All of a sudden, people only have 1 or 2 Todds, 3 Todds max, or maybe some people have more. But in general, I mean, it's sort of the natural cycle that we see. And it happens with all collectibles, right? In general, like I'm sure you could see that same pattern across comic books or across, again, coins or art or anything, where there's a supply available. People are like, okay, whatever, I can come back and get this. And they sell it. They go buy the thing they want. They come back and they're like, wait a minute, it's double. I'm not going to buy it now. Someone else is buying it and then doubles again, right? And they're like, well, I'm definitely not buying it now. And then all of a sudden, maybe they FOMO into it at 10,000, right? Because they're like, I need at least one back, right? So yeah, it's just the psychology of the market and the way it works. But yeah, I think that's what Grubhub and I are good at, is we like to, look at the market, see what people are sort of like ignoring or forgetting about because of the latest thing, and then we go make some moves, and go do stuff. And I think what's happening now though is that's accelerating faster and faster. We're seeing the pump come in because
yeah,
you got 4 to 5
more and
million.
more people doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you got so much money coming in. You got 4 to 5 million gems coming in, and it's sort of like, your friend tells your friend tells your friend, and then like that, like your brother's ex-girlfriend. She should really be thanking him and say, hey, that was a great relationship. but, but she's telling her friends, and then maybe her dad's like, hey, I'm gonna make a move, and so it goes on and on and on, and so then real money starts flowing in, and we're not even talking about institutional money at all, right? We're just talking about individuals and maybe high net worth individuals. But then when you talk about real money, what I see as real money is the wave of institutional money. And institutional money doesn't like to gamble, right? They like to go for the sure thing. So they're going to go for the sure thing because it's Walt, right? They're going to go for the sure thing because it's Todd. They're going to pick or Rizzo. They're going to pick the first series set of Batman Black and White. They're going to go for the sure things that they prize another one. Like there's just so many things that kind of pop out, right? They're going to go for that because it's institutional money, just like the guy who spent $69 million, on that. Remind me of the guy's name. I forgot his name.
Beeple, right?
Yeah, Beeple's collection, right?
Yeah.
He bought it because he's not expecting to maybe make 5 or 10 million. No, he's like, this is a $1 billion collection, right? And people have to remember that when you're selling something, someone's buying it, right? And they have a different perspective, and maybe they're willing to hodl longer. But yeah, the institutional money is what's really going to shake things up, and I think a lot of these things will just get to the moon, and we'll see fractional NFTs eventually for Veve.
Right. And that's why I look at even talking back about Spider-Man, because I don't want to discredit it completely, obviously, because it's the first Marvel NFT. I mean, I didn't mean to set some FUD around it. I mean, I still think it's going to be one of the key gainers out of this.
Yeah.
But look at first Marvel NFT, first Spider-Man first appearance. I mean, it's got so many catalysts. But I think the biggest thing is when you talk about institutional investing is the meaning behind it. It's that's why I keep saying if you take away FA from a collectible and it's just that, what if you're an institution, what is the foundation that you're buying into? And
you're just gonna scoop it all. If you're an institutional investor, you're gonna come in here and just literally, do what we did, but at a whole different magnitude, right? You're okay, I've got $300 million. Let's roll, and you're just gonna sweep up, and you're gonna force your own floors up. And you're gonna, you're literally gonna be the whale that everyone's scared of, right? Or Pranksy even. We're seeing, again, we were talking about Pranksy. Pranksy tweeted at Ecomi, right? That happened, right? And people, his followers noticed. You don't think those followers are gonna come in and be like, Pranksy's trying to get in here. Let me try to get him before he does. I mean, just that one guy alone could cause a huge wave, and maybe causing a huge wave right now of money rushing in, and then people trying to figure out, okay, where do I stick it? Obviously, they're paying attention to the latest drops, but then they're going to go, and as they get educated about what's on the app, start looking for season 1, start looking for things that are of value, or start going for the grail pieces. So yeah, it doesn't take much, because if the floors are really fragile, in my opinion, at these levels.
Right. So what advice would you guys have for somebody, let's just say has 100,000 gems, right? They're like, do I go into stack Spider-Gwens?
I mean, Grubba's got 100,000 gems right now. What are you doing?
There we go.
I don't know how many gems I have right now. That's undisclosed.
Yeah.
I just imagine you do, but yeah.
But there's one element that if you get that top piece, that grail piece, right? 2 partners, let's say, that those can moonshot, let's say, to 500,000. Not now, but potentially eventually, right? But at the same time, you might have a better ROI on all these smaller pieces that you can move around. They're more liquid, all that stuff. But some people just want to know what's the best way to maximize your return. And I know there's no simple answer, but I do believe that out of Veve, there'll be maybe 10 to 15 pieces that will become these talked about pieces for history, the grail pieces that we're talking about. So is there any maybe it's a mix and match. You do both, right? You get one grail piece and then you build leverage, but coming from 2 smart guys that have done this at a bigger scale, what advice would you have, I guess, for new users like that?
I would just go dollar cost average. If you had theoretically 100,000 gems, how much time do you want to spend on the app, right? That's one big question. How much of the market following are you going to do? How often are you going to list? You know, like, do you want to do the work like you've done to get your Moogly, to get, you know, to the pieces that you want? Or do you want to just slam it into like a guaranteed slam dunk on two partners and close the app, look away, and come back in 5 years? And it's all preference.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I would say if I had 100,000 extra gems right now, like, or if I was a user with 100,000 gems,
You'd be
I would
stacking.
probably, I would be stacking. Yeah, I mean, you guys know my story. I would be stacking. I'd be looking for value. I'd probably look more into season one, because that's kind of sticking out more and more and more. I would definitely focus on Disney. I would look for the undervalued Disney stuff and stack that. Yeah, I probably would get a Todd for sure. So I would probably mix it, some grails and some decent stacks, but probably like 75-25, meaning 75% of it, stacks, maybe a partner. And it's hard because then you're like, okay, one partner and one Todd, and then you only
there's no right answer though. It's
40,000
really
gems left.
yeah, but it's really your preference on how much you want to be in the app, right?
Yeah.
Because the more you're in the app, the more opportunities you're going to find. The less you're in the app, you're more of like a long-term investor. You put it there, you look away, and it's going up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Long term. Yeah, the trend's up. I mean, you were mentioning some sites earlier, Komi Wiki. Shout out to Omi the Clown. I mean, man, I subscribe to his site. He really has the charts, and he's got that connection with Veve where they were able to let him connect to their API. And so he has all the data. And like you said, you're right. You look at the supply and then you look at the price, and it makes sense. And you see it just like getting, like, yes, of course, there's not people willing to sell anymore, or people log out of the app, right? They buy their stuff. They say, I'll check in a year, and they're done. They're not on the market. It's not there anymore. And then again, I think these bots will have, okay, maybe some of them were collateral damage, but a lot of things are stuck, right? So there's some people tweeting that maybe 20% of some of these newer collectibles are stuck forever, right? That has a factor, and I don't think that's really kind of reflected in the market just yet. So I think that there's also opportunities there too. If you try to figure out what the bots were stacking or what they were stuck in, that could definitely help you understand what the real liquidity is on those pieces.
Right. So when there's a shiny new object, right? Like let's say Darth is coming out tomorrow, okay? And we're liquidating, right? The one thing I keep thinking is like, because there's so much gems now in the app, and also the slow rollout from Ethereum, right? Like I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like, it's almost like 2 collectibles every minute. We're gonna probably see, like, let's just say there was a Darth Vader 1,000 editions, like something like Secret Rare Spider-Man with 60,000 variants. The floor would probably be like 50K, like let's just say hypothetically right away. As a whale, when something like that happens, are you smart enough to be like, oh, well, let me go stack this FA common or something? Cause I know, like, are you keeping that discipline? Are you FOMOing in like everybody else? Like, do you still get excited about that? Or is it more, I'm in it for the money, I'm in it to see, or is there some kind of emotion that's in there for you guys too?
I mean, we want the grails, of course. I think like with Steamboat, that was a FOMO for me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to liquidate. I'm getting ultra rares. Yeah. But I focused on the ultra rares. I think Grubba's approach was a little different. You got ultra rares too. But he also like had enough liquidity to stack a bunch of commons. And so my strategy was more about getting the special mints on the common uncommon while the prices were still lower. Yeah. So I got, some years and things like that matched up to Disney movies and things. And I focus on, I spent most of the gems on the ultra rare because I'm like, this is cool, it's animated, right? So that was really the thing that stuck out to me. And so but yeah, Grubba, why don't you give your perspective on what you do when you see something you want?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely FOMO'd into some pieces, but over time, if I'm holding, FOMO is not relevant because I know it goes up. I don't know. I think there's something to be said about making sure you have enough of a common that's an FA, because those become the easiest liquidity. And I think we've seen it time and time again. I mean, Silicon's done it multiple times with the Spider-Man commons, obviously Todd, but that's a little bit of a different ball game. So I'm more about the stacking now. I used to be about getting the sets and getting the low mints, and that's when the game, when there wasn't as many players in the game. There's a lot more players in this game, and everyone kind of has the same idea. Whether you're in the idea of the low mints, or you're in the idea of the matching mints, or you're in the idea of of stacking or getting the ultra rare. So you got to be quick, you got to act fast, and if you stick with that stacking mentality, you're probably going to, in the long run, benefit yourself with liquidity, easy liquidity.
I've been happy with the Spidey Common move, even at it's half the price of where it's all time high at 1,500 gems or so, but 800 gems isn't bad for that piece, and I think it's at a low point. It's kind of building a good base, spring back, and that's the advantage you get. So let's say Spidey Common goes to 1,500, then he goes to 3,000. All of a sudden, I have a piece that I've got 150 pieces or whatever that I can peel a couple off and say, okay, yeah, when Darth Vader comes, I can sell off some Spidey Common or whatever, and have some gems for liquidity that I didn't have to put more money into the app, and I can keep leveraging the leverage that I have, right? And I think that's the key, is the whales have a lot of leverage when they keep applying their techniques to what they're buying, right? So if you're stacking something and you're stacking and stacking and stacking, then all of a sudden Steamboat Common could be 3,000, 5,000 gems. All of a sudden, you don't need to sell many to have a lot of gems, right? And so if you're new in the app, you kind of have to start from that beginning point of these are thousands of gems. But once you have that time on those stacks, they really do pay off, especially the key pieces. And I think that's a good strategy.
I love that, because then at the same time, you're not dipping into your grails, and you still have, even though some people say Common Spider-Man is a grail, and I agree, but I just think at that point, you don't have to go and sell a partners as an example just to hope to make a drop, right? And the other thing that I think is really cool, and that we've kind of learned from both of you, is even Silicon's 113 pizza truck, right? That could be an insanely valuable collectible. I mean, just seeing this.
It is to me.
Yeah, and it will be to somebody else, right? And
the Avengers logo A113, I have that one too. So it's the A logo, right? And then it's 113. So I mean, how does it get better than that?
Wow.
Doesn't.
Yeah. And I know somebody, I think it was, they had the 1901 Walt. It could have been 1901 or 1928 or something like that. But I'm pretty sure there was a $500,000 offer for it. And the person denied it. This is what I've been told through some other friends that are influencers. And it was just interesting, because these are the type of prices that are coming. So I think that's the other part too, is you could get lucky. I don't know if you saw somebody bag the 2099 Spider-Man 2099 FA. So you got the last mint in existence.
I saw that. Yeah. And I was like, bravo, right? Because that's a badass mint. And, again, the last mints hold value, but then also to match the collectible, obviously, David Yu picks all the mint numbers. So we see a lot of patterns and his mints, right? I see a lot of 888 all the time in the app. Right. He was just talking about China. That's interesting, that they're really kind of talking about that more. We see this anime drop tomorrow. It's all, kind of towards the Asian market, and they kind of explained on the AMA, what that's about. So yeah, I'm getting excited, because that means that new markets are opening up.
Yep. More money coming in.
More money.
Yeah, Tap said that the other day too. He's localization is going to take this to the next level. And you can only imagine, right? And I was thinking about it. I'm if this app came out in China, and I didn't know what it was, but then all of a sudden they converted it to English, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at all this licensed IPs. I mean, I can only imagine how quickly I would dive into it. But if it was Chinese and I couldn't read it, I might have thought it was a scam or what have you. And I'm I didn't really think about that before, because you just I was making an assumption, hey, everybody knows English. I know it is the most popular language, not necessarily spoken by the most people, but most people know of English worldwide. But I think it's still a bad assumption to just presume everybody's going to join in if they don't speak it. So I think that's huge, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole untapped market there without language localization that you're opening up with language localization. So essentially, you're opening up the floodgates to more people, which we know Veve is already addicting. So you get more people with more money. And then you also have, the culture where they're tied into that, right? So that they love these anime things and things like that. And it's just a recipe for elevating
success.
The market.
Yeah. So
And they love Disney. They love Disney, man. That's the thing. They got Disney Shanghai, right? Go watch. Have you seen that video, Chad? The one I talked about in the previous interview?
I did. I had to go watch it after you told me.
What'd you think?
Amazing. Like it's scary a little bit because I was looking afterwards at partners and I'm going, holy crap, this is a lot more valuable than I previously thought. And I already thought it was valuable, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're no joke. They love Disney, right? As much as we love Disney. I mean, who doesn't love, the stories are great, right? All our kids, I mean, I literally watch Toy Story almost every weekend over here. I mean, we're watching, you know, some kind of Disney movie, or if it's not Toy Story, it's Frozen, right? So yeah, it's ingrained in the psychology of a lot of people, or not psychology, but in the minds of a lot of people. Right. It's just, you know, part of pop culture.
And I remember Walt was like the #1 most influential person, you know, in animation on top of everything else that he's so known for. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, he's also responsible for not only these theme parks, but almost like every one of those characters that came to be afterwards. Like it started the Imagineers, it started all these other directors. Like, I just think that there's so much that speaks, you know, they say like a painting tells 1,000 words, like that NFT tells 500,000 words, you know, like that's just the way that I see that one.
It's general and broad enough where it can, right?
Right.
It's Walt and Mickey. What else do you have to say?
Yeah. And Graba, man, are you like Silicon? Like, are you a big coin collector, or like, what's your experience with collecting? I know I've seen some crazy sports memorabilia in the background. So you want to share a little light on that?
Yeah, I mean, collecting sports memorabilia has always been my thing. Collecting, you know, ticket stubs, which don't really exist anymore. Everything's kind of gone digital, but you know, that was my thing. And well, when I was a kid, I had, you know, basketball cards, baseball cards, some comics, but I never really stuck like the memorabilia, you know, the stuff that's numbered and there's only a finite amount of, and that, you know, correlates also to Veve, which is, you know, kind of the draw, that and the fact that it, you know, it's free market trading, right? That's what they built within their app. So but yeah, collection. This is it. What you see behind me, Kobe, Lakers. I'm a big Laker fan. LA, born and bred. Living in South Florida these days.
Sweet.
Yeah, you got quite the collection behind you. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And I heard, like, you know, sports is going to be a new vertical, right, for us this year. So I mean, that's going to shake things up again too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just keep thinking, like, with so many more verticals to come, I mean, even if it's like, you know, imagine you're wearing like your Lakers jersey limited to 50 pieces, but in your avatar scan in the Veveverse, you know what I mean? Like, that's the type of stuff that's still yet to be foreseen.
And you can wear a signed digital collectible. It's not going to get ruined in, you know, in the metaverse, hopefully. So, you know, one of these you won't ever see me wearing. You know, the signature can fade, you know, ketchup can get on it, whatever. That's not happening.
Yeah, and I bet you David Yu's going to watch this, or he's going to get a noise of this, and he's going to be like, "Okay, I got your weakness, dude. I'm going to come out with the NFT that you want."
I hope so, man. I would definitely stack that.
Yeah,
I bet you would.
Well, guys.
Yeah, you think about I'll just to wrap up on that. I know it sounds like you're going to wrap up here, but the passion that sports enthusiasts have, right? It's huge, right? You look at the passion of, like, let's just say soccer, right, or football. You know, the amount of fans, the amount of, you know, energy, how much they spend on gear, how much they, you know, that's a whole nother market, right, that's yet to be untapped. So you got a couple soccer players on here, you got a couple of football, basketball, whatever, however you do it, right? You get the models, you do a deal with someone, and I can play catch, you know, virtual catch with someone at, like, early on, right? We saw some glimpses of that. I know that I'm sure Veve's working on something. And
well, didn't Todd McFarlane, he had his own sports collectibles that he was designing from all the players. I mean, bring all those. Those were cool when I was a kid.
Yeah, and we got that connection with Todd, right? So yeah, McFarlane Toys, let's go.
We're ready.
Gents, man, you know, honestly, every time I get this opportunity to chat with Silicon and now Graba, like, I learned a ton, and, you know, totally humbled to have you guys on. And generally, you know, in most projects, people don't get to learn from the whales. They don't understand all this stuff. And so I think this just is such a unique opportunity. And And if you don't follow these guys on Twitter, please do. So it's Silicon Secure and Graba B on Twitter. I'll leave all of their, information below, and, hopefully, we can continue the party, have you both on in the future at any time. You just let me know. And just, follow these guys. They always give out good tips. They're always in the Twitter spaces as well. And I think you can also follow them on Veve under, I think, the exact same names. And then Discord, man. I mean, I'm part of the few of the Discords. I know there's like Club 33 that's recently kind of been opened, and then on top of that, we've got the Veve Army chat, if I'm not wrong, and a few others. So this is where you learn.
Continue to shout out to everyone in Spaces, everyone in the Discord Veve Army group. I mean, there's a lot of people helping each other out, helping new people coming in, and getting people, and that education is really needed right now. I think that's where the point where the new users come in and go, I have to learn all this. We have the ability at this point to play the Veve poker game, right? Because we've been at the table for a while. But new users, it could be overwhelming and daunting. So I appreciate everyone that helps educate users and brings them into the fold and spends the time, because that makes a big difference for the whole community.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can agree with Silicon here. We were both at one point, all three of us were in those shoes. Everything was overwhelming. What to buy, who to buy it from, marketplace, off marketplace. So I believe in community, and I believe that, all of us helping each other out. We are old school, we're OG, and, we're always here to answer questions. We'll never put you down. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's good to see your debut right here on NFT Pirates.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate that as well.
Oh, of course, man. I mean, what an honor for me. So this is the fun part about my job, is I just get to, have you guys up to chat. So, it's always a blast. And like I said, so follow these guys all over social media. We'll have them on again soon. And, obviously some great guys to learn from. So, I mean, and I continue to learn. And as it becomes difficult, because the more I learn, the more I don't know what to do. Now I'm just so indecisive. I'm like, oh, should I sell this? Should I do that? I'm like, I'm just becoming a nut, man. I don't. This is bad. I need to just stay with my own convictions, right?
Just look at the perspectives, right? Like, hodl isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Hodling does you buy the right pieces and you hodl them. I mean, it's proven in the market that it works. So yeah, for people that are concerned about trading or buying and selling, just buy the right thing at the right price. That's the challenge. And
dollar cost average.
So it's funny, something dips and people are like, oh man, I can't believe it. No, buy another one, right? Get ready. And that's the thing, it's hard, right, to buy something that's falling. You're like, oh, wait a minute. But it's just the way the market works. And crypto's volatile, and so are NFTs at times. Although I'm happy to say that I've seen the NFT market a little insulated from the crypto craziness on the normal stuff out there. So it's good to see that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks again. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.